In Mark 13, often called the Olivet Discourse, Jesus gives a prophetic teaching about the end times. His disciples ask him about the destruction of the temple and the signs of his coming. Jesus' response includes warnings, signs, and encouragements. Before we start, we'd like to ask for your support. If you enjoy our video, please hit the like button. This will help us reach more people and create content for you. Now let's get started with today's video. The Gospel of Mark, chapter 13, contains one of the most profound and prophetic teachings of Jesus regarding the end times. Often referred to as the Olivet Discourse, this chapter provides a framework for understanding the events leading up to the end of the world, the return of Christ, and the final judgment. Jesus delivered this teaching on the Mount of Olives, overlooking the temple in Jerusalem. His disciples had asked him about the destruction of the temple and the signs of the end of the age. His response encompasses multiple prophetic elements, some of which were fulfilled in the first century, while others pertain to future events yet to unfold. 1. The destruction of the temple, Mark 13 verses 1 to 2. The chapter begins with Jesus leaving the temple, and one of his disciples remarks on its grandeur. In response, Jesus prophesies, "Do you see these great buildings? Not one stone shall be left upon another, that shall not be thrown down." Mark 13 verse 2. This prophecy was fulfilled in 70 AD, when the Romans, under General Titus, destroyed the temple in Jerusalem. The destruction was so thorough that not a single stone of the original structure remained standing. However, Jesus' answer extends beyond this historical event to a broader discussion about the end times. 2. The beginning of sorrows, Mark 13 verses 3 to 8. Sitting on the Mount of Olives, opposite the temple, Peter, James, John, and Andrew asked Jesus privately, "Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign when all these things will be fulfilled?" Mark 13 verse 4. Jesus begins by warning them not to be deceived, emphasizing that many will come in his name, claiming to be the Christ. This deception will lead many astray. He also describes several signs that will occur before the end. False messiahs. Many will claim to be Christ, misleading many people. Wars and rumors of wars. Nations will rise against each other. Natural disasters. Earthquakes and famines will increase. Jesus makes it clear that these signs do not indicate the immediate end, but are merely the beginning of sorrows. Mark 13 verse 8. This phrase likens these events to birth pains, which increase in intensity and frequency before the final moment arrives. 3. Persecution of believers. Mark 13 verses 9 to 13. Jesus warns his disciples that they will face persecution for their faith. "But watch out for yourselves, for they will deliver you up to councils, and you will be beaten in the synagogues. You will be brought before rulers and kings for my sake, for a testimony to them." Mark 13 verse 9. Key points from this passage include: believers will be arrested and tried for their faith. The gospel will be preached to all nations before the end. The Holy Spirit will give believers the words to speak in times of persecution. Family betrayals will occur, as even loved ones will turn against believers. Those who endure to the end will be saved. This persecution was evident in the early church and continues today in various parts of the world. 4. The Great Tribulation, Mark 13 verses 14 to 23. Jesus then speaks of an event called the abomination of desolation. "So when you see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing where it ought not, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains." Mark 13 verse 14. This phrase originates from Daniel 9 verse 27 and refers to a desecration of the temple. Some believe this prophecy was partially fulfilled in 167 BC, when Antiochus IV Epiphanes set up an altar to Zeus in the temple. Others see its fulfillment in 70 AD, when Roman forces desecrated the temple before destroying it. However, many scholars and believers see a future fulfillment tied to the Antichrist. Jesus describes this as a time of unprecedented tribulation, saying, "For in those days there will be tribulation, such as has not been since the beginning of the creation which God created until this time, nor ever shall be." Mark 13 verse 19. To protect the elect, God will shorten those days. Jesus also warns against false prophets and false Christs who will perform signs and wonders to deceive, even if possible, The elect. 5. The coming of the Son of Man. Mark 13 verses 24 to 27. Following the tribulation, cosmic signs will appear. The sun will be darkened. The moon will not give its light. Stars will fall from the sky. Heavenly bodies will be shaken. Then, Jesus will return with great power and glory. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. Mark 13 verse 26. At this time, he will send his angels to gather his elect from all over the world. This event is widely understood as the second coming of Christ, fulfilling Daniel 7 verses 13 to 14. 6. The parable of the fig tree. Mark 13 verses 28 to 31. Jesus uses a fig tree as an illustration. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. Mark 13 verse 28. Just as signs of changing seasons are evident, so too will be the signs of his return. Jesus assures that this generation will not pass away until all these things take place. Mark 13 verse 30. Some interpret this generation as referring to the contemporary audience, while others believe it refers to the future generation witnessing these events. 7. No one knows the day or hour. Mark 13 verses 32 to 37. Jesus concludes by emphasizing that no one knows the exact timing of his return. But of that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Mark 13 verse 32. He commands his followers to watch and pray, be vigilant, like servants waiting for their master's return. Stay faithful, as the return will be sudden and unexpected. Conclusion, lessons from Mark 13. Mark 13 provides both warnings and encouragement. It reminds believers to be aware of deception. False Christs and false prophets will arise. Endure persecution. Faith will be tested, but those who endure will be saved. Recognize the signs. The increasing troubles in the world indicate the approach of the end. Anticipate the second coming. Jesus will return in power and glory. Stay ready, since no one knows the day or hour. Believers must live in a state of constant watchfulness and faithfulness. Mark 13 is a call to spiritual vigilance and endurance. It encourages believers to remain steadfast, keep spreading the gospel, and live with the expectation that Jesus will return at any moment. Whether his coming happens in our lifetime or not, his message remains the same. Be watchful, be faithful, and be ready. Please subscribe my YouTube channel. I hope you like this video. Thank you.